Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 9 of the Christian Dating Game podcast. I've been doing this for 3 months already because I've had a few weeks here or there, which I've not been able to make it for whatever reason. But yeah, wow, it's gone fast that I've been doing this so long already. And today got a very good and interesting and useful episode about online dating, which is something which gets castigated a lot in dating circles. I think a lot of men have bad experiences with online dating, and that shapes their view of online dating. But it's not actually bad, and it's a very good and very useful tool if used effectively. And that's what I'm going to share today: is how can you effectively use online dating to get dates and find a relationship, which is obviously our ultimate goal. So I want to thank you for everyone who's joining me now. Just as a reminder, every week that this is live on YouTube, it's live on Twitter, and it's live on Instagram. Whichever of those platforms works best for you, you can use it on. It doesn't really matter. I will not be able to see your comments as easily on Instagram. I will check back, but it's just the Instagram kind of software is a little bit bad, to be quite honest. So it's just unfortunate that it gets a little bit difficult for me to use that to see those comments. Another reminder that this is obviously like my business is my service. This is my way to serve my audience, to serve my clients, and this is just another way that I can serve you guys. So I want to thank you for joining me and being here so that I can help you, help serve you, and help bring you into a better dating situation, a better relationship situation as a result. And I'm just very, very grateful for you giving me your time this Thursday evening for everyone based in America, which I'm going to assume the majority of you are, but obviously I don't know that for sure. So what am I going to talk about today? Well, I've got a couple of different things that I really wish to discuss, particularly about online dating. But as a reminder, you can ask me questions and help drive the direction of this. And that's one of the ways that I can serve you. And when I answer your questions directly, this is a free way to get access to my brain, which is a very valuable thing. But I'm going to be talking about what dating apps to use. I'm going to talk about what should be kind of your underlying and overall kind of strategic purpose and your strategic identity when you're using dating apps, and what kind of, the goal that you have for everything in life informs the way that you use it. And if you have the wrong goal, you're going to be using dating apps wrong, and you're going to get the, worse results as a consequence of that. And I'm also going to be talking about like how it's really broken down and what you can therefore do to maximize your results on dating apps as well. So that's what I will be talking about today. I've got a couple of other things that I want to get into as well. Before we do that, I want to share a little bit about my coffee I'm drinking this morning. For people who regularly join this, this is Friday morning for me. So it's a good time to drink coffee. If you're in the evenings, probably not best, I'm going to guess. But I've got some good coffee from a place called Banjarnegara in central Java. It's really good. Honestly, it's really, really good coffee. It's not particularly complex, but very drinkable. It's kind of sweet, almost syrupy flavor and texture with a kind of lime aftertaste that it's almost like a lime syrup. It's really good. It's not really much else going on other than that, but it's very flavorful. Banjarnegara is a place in central Java in Indonesia, which is an up and coming place for coffee. Most coffee from Java comes from West Java, which has a very fruity, complex flavor. It's very flavorful coffee as a rule there. Coffee from West Java and kind of North Sumatra, I think, is probably the best coffee in Indonesia, although there's good coffee from everywhere. It's the most kind of acclaimed, got great soil for it. And they both have rich, fruity flavors. And the stuff I've had from Banjarnegara is not the same as the West Java and the Central Java, but it's good. It's very good. It's a bit less complex, but very flavorful. And if you can get your hands on some, I don't know what coffee situation is like in America. If it's anything like Britain, it's not good at all. But Asia is where it's at for coffee, at least in my experience. Both Thailand and Indonesia have great coffee culture. Cool. So let's get into it. Before we do, I would like just to say a little quick prayer for this time, to help guide us all together and to help me speak with authority from the Holy Spirit as well. So just bear with me while I take a moment to pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this technology, which allows us this opportunity to share with so many people insights that can help them grow in their dating life. I pray that you can use me to create more healthy Christian-based marriages and relationships which lead to marriage, to help strengthen your church, Lord. And I hope and pray that this that I do here, this live stream that I do here, will help contribute towards that. I pray you'll guide my voice and my words with wisdom. And I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, thank you very much, guys. So let's get into it. Online dating. The first question I often get for online dating is, what dating apps should I use? And it's a pretty simple, straightforward question. And it kind of makes sense logically. And it is important, to be quite honest, because what you're really looking for on dating apps is the audience. What kind of user base does it have? Once upon a time, a lot of people used to use Christian Mingle, and maybe it was good once, but in the whole time I've been doing this, whenever I've had clients use it, it seems to be packed full of bots, and there doesn't seem to be many actually active users. So if you're using that dating app, you're not going to get much success. So there's only 3 dating apps, and this is based if you're America. There are regional differences on dating apps. I have some clients in Japan, for example, and different dating apps are effective there. I have a client at the moment in Mexico as well. And again, the general, the big ones are not as big there. And there's also a good Christian dating app in the UK, which is a little bit different as well. But I'm going to assume most of you guys are in America. And really, there's only 3 dating apps I recommend using. It is Hinge, Bumble, and Upwards. And Bumble, I think, has got better since they made the changes. Although historically, I didn't recommend it to my clients. And I don't even know if those changes have been enacted on the messaging yet, because I don't have any clients using it currently. And really, the 2 that I recommend are Hinge and Upwards. Now, Hinge is by far and away the best dating app currently right now. There's no competition actually for that in my mind. It's got the most active user base of the most high quality women. It's the most culturally kind of, not accepted is the wrong word, but it's the most culturally, people who are on Hinge tend to be people who are pretty plugged into the culture. There tend to be people who are pretty plugged into dating life at the moment. And there are people who want to take dating reasonably seriously. And this is the thing to remember, like, not everyone on a dating app is going to take dating seriously. Like, well, that's not true. Yeah, it is true. But not everyone on a dating app is going to be looking for a relationship. And obviously not everyone on Hinge, a secular dating app, is going to be Christian. However, everyone who is on a dating app, or basically everyone, obviously you always have to throw in some exceptions, but everyone on a dating app is, number 1, single. And number 2, they are looking to date, if nothing else. And this is one of the great advantages of using a dating app as opposed to relying on approaches or, relying on meeting people at church, is that there's no guarantee the people that you're going to be meeting out and about. Like one of my clients this week, he had a great situation. He was actually on a hike. There was a beautiful girl on that hike. He was sat down on the bench catching his breath. It was a very big hill apparently. And then, a girl walked past on her own, and he just, did what we've been teaching. He threw up a conversation, and they got chatting, and they walked the rest of the hike together, just the 2 of them, which was another hour or so. And this is, something I teach all my clients, how to actually generate these are what I call instant dates. You basically manage to create an hour with a woman on your own, just the 2 of you. It's essentially a date, and it went great. He was, practicing what we taught. He was building an emotional connection. He was using emotional alchemy to do that. He was making her laugh. They had a great time. And at the end of it, he asked for her number, but she had a boyfriend. And that's just one of those things, that there's nothing you can do about that. You can never know that. You can never guarantee that the women you're going to be talking to is single. Like, I wish you could. I wish there was some way to do that. There isn't, unless they've got a ring on their finger, in which case they're married. You can't tell if a girl's got a boyfriend or not. And I think based on, his account of this, she was being legitimate here. This was not someone just saying that to, get rid of an annoying guy because they spent an hour together and it seemed like they both enjoyed it. So, one thing I'll always say is what you feel, she feels. So if you're enjoying it, it's almost guaranteed she is enjoying it as well. Whereas dating apps, you don't have that problem. Nearly everyone on there, like 99% of people on there, are single and looking to date. Again, are they looking for a relationship? We can't say that for sure, which is also why I'll talk about in a moment how we can dial in our profile and also scan profiles to be able to identify those kind of women who are looking for relationships. And there's a system I use for that. The other dating app that I also recommend, as I said, is Upwards, which is a Christian-based dating app. It's probably the only Christian dating app worth using. It actually follows a pretty similar structure to Hinge with some, different prompts, Christian-based prompts. But that's actually got an active user base compared to most Christian dating apps, which simply don't. And of course, Bumble. Bumble now is better, and it's always been okay. I've always had clients who have had success on Bumble, but Bumble, you have a greater reliance on your profile. And I think Bumble works better for people who are just generally going to have a higher perceived status on online, using that, using the metrics by which online dating judges status, which is very different to other. It is different compared to in person. And because you're always relying on them messaging you, which I know they've talked about changing, but I don't know if they've enacted that change yet, it can be a disadvantage for most guys, which is why I generally don't recommend that. It's also something that creates the wrong dynamic of waiting for women to message you as opposed to the other way around. It just creates the wrong masculine feminine dynamic, which is not something that you want. You want to initially begin in the stages of messaging, of really leading that interaction in a way that can creates the right dynamic and makes her feel attracted to you. Because if you don't have that masculine air and that masculine aura to you, there is going to be a lack of polarity there. There is going to be a misalignment of attraction in that dynamic, which is not something you want. So they're the dating apps I would recommend to use. Again, I'll quickly repeat for the people who have just joined. It's only 3 dating apps I recommend. It's Hinge, Bumble, and Upwards. Now, let's get into something that's a bit more meaty and a bit more useful. And again, guys, if you have any questions, if there's anything you want to ask me, please leave your comments and questions. I can see them all. I've currently got the Instagram app open as well, so I can see your questions on Instagram as well, although I won't be able to put them on screen. But if you're on YouTube, if you're on Twitter, please leave your comments and let me know what you would like me to answer about these things. Otherwise, it's just going to be me monologuing, which is fine. I can talk and I enjoy it, but that's part of the value that you can derive from these free Q&A podcast sessions. So what is your overall purpose behind dating, online dating? Obviously, your purpose behind dating is to find relationships. And obviously, that's part of the bigger picture of why you're using online dating. Is the ultimate goal is to find a relationship leading to marriage. You're Christian, that has to be your intention. That has to be your goal. But when it comes to online dating apps, people sometimes think that you will, kind of have this misconception that you will create that marriage and you'll create that relationship on the dating app. This is 100% wrong. You have one purpose on a dating app, and just one purpose. And that purpose is to get them off the dating app. Now, there's 2 ways that we can do this. The first way that we do this is to meet them in person. That's the end goal. We want to use it to get dates, nothing else. And the other kind of aspect of this, which leads to that ultimate goal, is to move them off the dating app and onto some other kind of private messaging platform, whether that be Instagram, whether that be getting her number, whether that be, Snapchat, whatever else it might be. I don't really care. But moving them off the dating platform creates that intimacy, creates that connection between the two of you, and gives you that much more one-on-one account that you can do. And also a big part of that, of course, is that eventually you want to get dates, and you need to set up your whole profile, your whole messaging strategy with the sole purpose of getting dates. Why? Well, the whole platform, and this is why a lot of guys dislike using online dating platforms, the whole purpose behind it, the whole it's naturally superficial. The way that it works is it is naturally superficial. It's a naturally superficial phenomena where you're only really looking at a couple of things. You're only really looking at their pictures, you're only really looking at their bio, which is written with a purpose, and it's a superficial thing. And even messaging, you're getting to know them a little bit better, but even with the messaging, you're not really uncovering who they are. And there's all those in-person cues, there's all those body language cues, the way that you think and feel when you're with someone compared to just seeing them drop a message, that you can never really get a feel for anyone until you meet them in person. So we don't ever want to take the dating app too seriously. We don't want to take the messaging too seriously. We don't get too emotionally invested in these dynamics. We only want to see them as an opportunity to meet them in person. And your whole strategy has to be built around that. Okay. Your whole strategy has to be, how do I meet this person? How do I get them to want to meet me? And when you can do that, you're going to start finding success in a way that most people don't have dating success. And I shared this story recently, but one of my clients, he's actually just finished working with me. He's one of my former clients now, because he did not need any more help, which is a big purpose of, what I do to help guys, is like my whole framing is like, I work with you until you don't need to help me. A lot of other coaches, they try and string out as much money from their clients. They try and keep them along forever. Whereas I'm not really like that. It's like, we work together until you don't need to work with me. And the quicker we can do that, the better for you and the happier I am, because ultimately, as I say, this is an act of service for me. Like, it is my business, but it's an act of service. And yeah, he no longer worked with me, but one of the things we really worked on, and one of the reasons he doesn't feel that need anymore, is because we completely dialed in his profile. And before he worked with me, before we made these changes, he was getting about 3 or 4 matches a week. In the 3 days after we made the changes, he got 28 matches in 3 days. Or maybe it was 23 matches in 3 days. I forget, but I think it was 28. And, when you're getting consistent matches like that, and then you have the ability and the skill to use your messaging in a way to actually get them to meet you in person, you're never going to feel like, I don't know where the next date's coming from. And that can really create that abundance mindset. And it's a lot less energy, it's a lot less effort, and it's a lot less, it's a lot more time efficient than going out 5 days a week trying to meet women. You can't get as many dates with women in any other way than using online dating. There's no replacement. Now, it's not a replacement for going out in person. It's not a replacement for honing your flirting skills, your communication skills, because eventually you're going to have to meet these people in person. And you also don't want to be over reliant on one area at all. But it is what's the word? There's nothing else comes close to actually that the ability that online dating gives you. And yeah, he got 28 matches in 3 days. He ended up getting 15 dates over the course of the time we worked together. And I think 13 of those dates were with women he met on online dating. He's been on 3 dates with 2 women, 2 Catholic women. He's Catholic. at the moment, and he's at that position where he's kind of deciding, okay, which direction do I go? Who do I actually want to invest my future with? And he's going to be having to make that decision over the next date or two, because again, this is where I differ from a lot of Christian coaches. I don't think there's necessarily anything immoral about going on dates with two women at a time, to a point, right? There's a point when it does become like, okay, am I leading this person on, and am I actively putting my own pleasure and my own enjoyment of this situation over what's respectful to them? But that doesn't happen until you're 4, 5, 6 dates in, when you can really get a feel for, by 5 or 6 dates in, you should know whether this dynamic has potential to be a relationship. Now, that doesn't mean you know whether you're going to marry them, but you should know 5 or 6 dates in, okay, I can see this is someone that I could have a relationship with. And at that point, you need to make the decision. You can't keep, he can't keep doing that forever. But if you're 2 or 3 dates in, before you make that choice, it's no problem. You've not committed to that person yet. And you're not leading them on at that point. It only becomes leading them on when they believe they're going to get something that they're not from you, or you're giving them mixed signals. You're telling them one thing and doing something else, which at that point you're not. That comes later. And when you can, set up your profile and get messaging to get consistent dates, it removes that fear when you're on dates. This is the really great thing about it. It's a great thing about why my program focuses, the Dynastic Dating program focuses so heavily on results, because you can't fake it. It's not something that sounds good in your head. It's not a mindset victory. It's like, it's cold, it's hard, it's real. You can touch it. And when you know that you've been on, like this client did, 15 dates in 12 weeks, you don't worry about how the dates are going to go at that point, because there's going to be another one around the corner. And that allows you to show your best self on those dates. I'm sure a lot of you listening to this, you've maybe been on 1 or 2 dates, and you probably get one date every 2 months, every 6 months. So when you get that date, you have all this pressure on getting it right, because you might not get another date for another 6 months. That's not a good place to be in, because that pressure and that weight is obviously going to come through. So you're obviously going to feel that. People are going to feel that. Women are going to feel that like pressure on you, and you're not going to put your best foot forward, which is why it's so important to have the ability to get dates. And once, you have that ability and you've done it and you've built that confidence, you can get dates consistently. You don't have to be as, you don't have to focus so much on just going on as many dates as possible, which is what I try and get people to do in the early stages of the program. That you kind of cast your net very wide, you build that confidence, and then you refine down afterwards. I see other dating programs, they're like, okay, you're just looking for the one from the beginning. And you're actually, which is the goal of my program, but the way that they do that, it actually doesn't lead. It makes it harder for you to actually achieve that goal. Because if you're just looking for the one and you're only going on dates with people who you think could be the one, man, you're probably only getting a date every month, probably. And that's just not an effective way to go through, to find a relationship. Dating is not just a numbers game. Sometimes you'll hear that from the other side of the spectrum, the red pill guys. Dating is a numbers game. You just need to date as many people as possible, and eventually you'll find a relationship. And that's not true either, but there is an element of truth to it. There is an element of truth that, like, the more dates you get, the more likely you are to meet someone you want to be in a relationship with. But also there is the intangibles of how that impacts your confidence and how that makes you feel during the dating process too. So our goal with dating apps is to take them off the dating app and meet them in person. I'll put my teeth back in. How can we understand how to do that? Okay, how can we actually analyze and theoretically understand what dating apps are and how to use them? And this is really key information I don't reveal very often, except for paying clients usually. So you're in luck if you're here. So we can break down dating apps into three areas. And this is generally how I visualize attraction as well, is there's three kind of levels to attraction. There's what I call the door and the foundations, which are the initial attractors that people have. They're the things that initially attract you to a woman and what initially attracts a woman to you. These are things that are generally talked about in terms of attraction in red pill sphere and kind of sexual marketplace value style stuff. It's things like your looks, your height, your status, your job. All these things contribute to your foundational attraction. Okay. And I like to use it as the door because it allows people to walk into the house of who you are. If someone's not initially attracted to you, they're never going to give any of the other things time of day. Okay. They're not going to care if you have a great personality. They're not going to care if you make them feel great. If they're just not initially attracted to you in the first place, there's not a lot you can really do about that. And it's the same with you. You know, if a woman's obese and overweight, you know, you're probably going to be like, don't really want to go on a date with her in the first place, right? So this area is important. And when it comes to dating apps, this transposes as our pictures. Okay, your pictures are the most important thing on a dating app because they are what open the door to her reading the bio. For example, a girl will not read your bio unless she's first taken in by your pictures, first attracted by your pictures. And one of the unfortunate realities of online dating is that because of that, it is somewhat more reliant on looks and visual cues of status. Now, there are ways that you can hack that. There are ways that you can use photos to portray more status and portray more attraction. And, you know, these are the things we worked on with my client, which led him from getting 3 matches a week to 28 in 3 days. But your pictures are probably the most important of the thing on the dating app. And they are what initially attracts her. They're what initially makes her stop on your profile. Now, the second aspect of attraction is what I call the guest areas. And this is, you know, again, we're using this metaphor of the house. Your guest areas are how you make someone feel, you know, when you're with them. It's like when someone comes to your house and you show them you sit in the kitchen or you sit in the living room, you have a, guest area. Like in the UK, where I'm from, generally the guest areas of a house are the first floor or the ground floor. That's normally where guests are welcome. And then you have the upstairs of the house, which is generally considered private. And that's not, you're not ever able to go upstairs in someone's house without asking for permission in the UK. And sometimes the toilet's up there. And so sometimes you have to ask for that. Depends on how old the house is, how big the house is. But generally, that's a private area. And it's the same thing when it comes to spending time and attraction. We have this guest area where we show people the best side of ourselves when we're on dates and things to make them feel comfortable with us. And then they can get to know who we really are as a result of that. Now, to transpose this model onto online dating, your bio is essentially the guest areas. That's how you can use online dating to make her feel certain things. The images, the pictures you use are what initially attracts her. The bio is what allows her to have an emotional investment in you, right? So you need to craft your bio in a way which creates that emotional investment, creates those feelings of connection, those feelings of making her laugh, a little bit of desire, showcasing a little bit of, again, I'll have this discussion time and time again with men about how it's almost superficial, or it's lying, or I'm not really showing who I am, and it's, no, it's not. It is to some degree superficial, but it's just how the game is played, guys. Like, you can rail against it and say it's superficial, but then you're just not going to succeed on it, right? And ultimately, our goal, to tie back to what I talked about earlier, our goal of using online dating is to get dates, to get past that superficiality. And if we have to create a superficial element to get to that point, then yes, you're going to have to do that. It's not dishonest. It's not lying. It's presenting a side of yourself. Okay, you're presenting a side of yourself you wouldn't normally show, or you're giving them a side of you that they don't normally see. And this is very, very important. And it's all about provoking that emotional response, because the bio is what makes a click match. Pictures are what make her stop and read the bio. The bio is what makes her match with you. And then we have the third and final stage of online dating, which is likened to the private quarters of my model for attraction, which is the idea that, again, to use the house analogy, it's basically who we really are. It's our character, it's our values, it's our communication style, it's our flaws, our problems, our little foibles, our quirks, all these things together that make up really who we are. And a lot of guys, again, they make the mistake of thinking, and again, you get this in contemporary, dating advice, just be yourself, or she should love me for who I am, or I just need to show her who I am, and then she should kind of take me or leave me. And again, this is naive. Okay, it's a naive view of dating. It's a naive view of relationships and interpersonal relationships. You need to gradually reveal that over time. And the way that I like to, kind of allow you to visualize this is in this house metaphor for attraction. It's like you invite a guest over, maybe someone you met from church. You've got to know them a little bit, and you go, hey, why don't you come around and we can, maybe we can have coffee and chat, or whatever you're doing, right? Play a board game, whatever you guys do. It's like you then invite them into your house for the first time, and you go like, you've got this whole house, you got a great living room, a living area where there's a TV, there's a sound system, there's a sofa you can sit on. It's pretty relaxed. It's set up for entertaining guests. And then you go, hey, why don't we go play this game in my bedroom? Now, again, if you're a kid and you share your parents' house, okay, maybe, but I'm guessing most of you are not children living with your parents. Certainly hope not. And if you did that, that would be weird. Like, dude, why do you want me to go to your bedroom? I've literally just met you. And that's how a lot of you guys are treating dating. You're going, hey, this is who I am. This is how you should view me. Take me or leave me. And it just comes across weird. It just makes people uncomfortable. And it makes women uncomfortable. And it makes them think this person is not socially aligned, which sets off her warning bells, which makes her not want to continue and not want to date you. Which is not where we want to be. And I talk about all this on my newsletter, by the way, guys. So if you would like to, get a much better understanding of these kind of concepts, I do have some free guides you can download. I have my newsletter, which gives you daily dating insights for the first 2 months. And then after that, you get 3 times a week, you get high value insight into what it means to date as a Christian man and how you can find a relationship. There's a link in the description box if you're watching this on YouTube. I just realized I haven't actually put that under this on Twitter, which I will do right now. And if you're watching on Instagram, you can get it in my bio as well. And this will really help you understand all these things. But how do we actually articulate this when it comes to dating? Okay, and online dating, I should say. Well, if your bio is the guest areas, if your pictures are the foundation and the door of your house, then your messaging is the private quarters. So how is that, and how can we apply that? And I've just dropped that link underneath the Twitter post that this is under. So if you want those insights, you want daily insights about dating, please go to it there. You will find it there. So how does it align to that? Well, your messaging is basically how you begin to reveal who you really are and make her decide whether or not she actually wants to go on a date with you, which is, as I described, our ultimate purpose. So you need to have the kind of messaging which builds a connection. You need to make her feel sexually attracted to you. And again, sexually attracted doesn't, you need to have some flirtatiousness in there. You have to have that kind of masculine polarity, which really builds that sexual dynamic, which is, again, one of the reasons why I don't generally recommend Bumble, because you're immediately kind of seeding that masculine dynamic by going on, by allowing her to message you first. It's how do you then make her decide whether she does want to trust you enough. Because again, this is another thing you've got to remember about dating apps is you're basically a stranger to her. You're talking to a stranger. She's talking to a stranger. And you have to build that trust that you are someone that she wants to talk to, that she wants to get to know better. You are that person who she wants to then meet in public, and actually take that risk because there is an inherent risk associated for women. And your messaging and your communication is how you really demonstrate that and create that feeling and that vibe to make her go from being initially attracted to you to thinking, I'm going to give this guy a chance, to actually getting to know this guy and then getting a date with him. And when you can do it, you've got a never-ending source of dates with Christian women. Obviously, there's things you can do in your profile, things you can do to target Christian women. You shouldn't just say, in my opinion, like, I am a Christian. Show don't tell is a great rule. You want to be showing, you don't want to be telling. So you want to use images. I always remember one of my clients had a picture of him at a Christian band. I can't even remember who it was. It wasn't Hillside, but it was one of these, kind of famous worship bands. And he had been to a gig and he had a picture of him at the gig or with them. I forget exactly. And that was how he communicated he was a Christian, because anyone who's a real Christian would have recognized that and know that. And like, oh, okay, this guy's a Christian. It's a subtle way of showing, like, I'm a practicing Christian. I'm aware of these worship bands and I'm actually actively going to their shows. And that was a really great way that he could communicate that. Again, on Upwards, you don't have to do that, but on the secular dating apps, you do. And this is how you can just effectively get dates and get consistent dates and never worry about where's that next date coming from. Where is it coming from? You already know. You have the ability to do it. And again, online dating is just another way to meet women. It's a very time-efficient way. It's a very effective way. And it's a way that you're already searching in a pool of people who are already single, which makes it so much easier compared to doing other things like going out and approaching women, connecting with women at church. And again, that's not to say these things you shouldn't do. I'd say probably, 50% of my clients find their relationships through online dating. 50% of my clients, or probably 45% of my clients meet their girlfriends through what I call the targeted approach, which is where we target locations and build out social networks and connections in those locations. And the final one is, about 5% of my clients actually find their girlfriends through doing, approaches, kind of cold, meeting someone in a coffee shop, meeting someone in the street, things like that, like grocery stores. Like, it's actually a very low return. So whenever someone's telling you about, like, you should focus on approaching above all else, it's like, they probably aren't looking for relationships, and it's probably just they've heard someone else say it. They don't actually have much good experience with their own client base, because it's the lowest return on investment. Online dating is much, much, much better than approaching women as a tool. It just is more effective. So don't sleep on it. I've given you some great examples of how you can use this, what your purpose is, what dating apps to use, how you should be using dating apps to get consistent dates. So hopefully you can apply this to your dating life and find a relationship, which is ultimately what I want to do. And I hope this has been a great service for you. Now, if you have any questions or anything you want me to pick up on or talk about or elaborate on, now's your time to leave them. Please comment on Twitter, on YouTube, on Instagram. I've got them all up. I can see them all. But otherwise, we can, we come into the end of what I want to talk about here. So please leave any questions. And a reminder, if you want more dating insights, which will help you find a Christian-based relationship and allow you to date as a Christian in 2024, please subscribe to my newsletter. I give daily insights for 2 months, daily dating Christian insights to help you find a relationship. And then after that, it's every 3 days, every 2 or 3 days. It's 3 times a week. And these are value laden value-laden insights into what is emotional alchemy, how you can use emotional alchemy to build connections with women, what are the best places to meet Christian women, how you should be approaching dating, what are the most important mindset trips, what are the common mistakes that Christians make when they are dating, and what you should do instead. These are all things that I reveal there. It's got a lot of value. It's 100% free. You also get some free trainings. You get 2 free trainings attached to it on meeting women and also how to connect with women instantly as well. So you get a lot of value for joining, honestly, and it's 100% free. All you have to do is give your email and you've got that stuff. So it's super useful. But yeah, it doesn't seem like anybody has any questions. So I just want to thank you for joining me and spending your Thursday evening, these past 40 minutes with me. I'm very grateful that I'm able to do this and I'm able to share my insights with you guys in a free setting where you can ask me questions and you can probe my mind to help give you better dating life. Ultimately, I want you all to find relationships. I want more Christian men to get married. I think this is one of the biggest challenges that the church is facing today. And there's not enough voices like mine, which are giving healthy yet actionable and realistic dating advice. I'm not just telling you just to pray for your wife. Please do that. You obviously should do that. But it's not enough. It's not enough. Labora et ora. You have to work and pray, right? You have to work and pray. And hopefully I can help you with some of that work and effort that you can put in. But I want to say thank you very much, guys, for joining me. I hope you will have a wonderful evening and a great weekend. And I pray God blesses all of you in your search for your wife. Take care.